Good afternoon. Welcome to our guests and our members. My name is Stephen Longmire, and I am this year's president of the DIA. Because of the global pandemic, we've opted to continue to hold our meetings as a virtual session, and this is our third webinar. The two key mandates of the Digital Imaging Association are to provide education and networking opportunities for our members. At this time, we have to forego the networking opportunity for everyone's personal safety. I hope you find the educational aspect worthwhile, and we look forward to your feedback. If you are with us today as a guest, please consider joining the Digital Imaging Association. Today's session is an example of the high caliber meetings that we run. If you would like more information on membership, please contact either myself or Marg McLeod. Another important piece of business today is to thank our sponsors, who without their tremendous support, we would not be able to host events like today. Our platinum sponsors are Canon, EFI, HP, Konica Minolta, Print Action, and Spicers. Our gold sponsors are Fujifilm, Graphics Canada, and Heidelberg. At this point, I would like to introduce our topic, keeping your workplace in a protective bubble. Today, we've assembled a panel of experts from all different perspectives in the printing industry. For label printing, we have Diane Sinclair, Vice President and owner of Cambridge Label. Oh, my apologies. Sorry, Taurus, if you would not mind going back 1 second. We wouldn't be able to provide this caliber of a digital event today without the support of HP Canada, who's providing us our webinar platform for today, and also a DIA Platinum sponsor. HP, together with its subsidiaries, provides personal computing and other access devices, imaging and printing products and related technologies, solutions, and services worldwide. The company operates through 3 segments: personal systems, printing, and corporate investments. The printing segment provides consumer and commercial printing hardware, supplies, solutions, and services, as well as scanning devices. HP Inc. was founded in 1939 and reinvented in 2015 and is headquartered in Palo Alto, California. HP Canada Co. is a wholly owned subsidiary of HP Inc. and is headquartered in Mississauga, Ontario. Slide, please. The topic for today, as mentioned, is keeping your workplace in a protective bubble. Our panelists today, I guess I'll introduce myself. Stephen Longmire, Associate Publisher, Print Action, and President of the Digital Imaging Association. Joining our panelists right now, Diane Sinclair, Vice President and owner of Cambridge Label. Diane's a passionate entrepreneur and proud family business owner at Cambridge Label Inc., where she's worked for the past 11 years. Diane applies her formal business training to leading change within the operations, finance, and marketing teams, in addition to her managerial responsibilities. Diane is also a major advocate for innovation in the printing industry. And under her leadership, Cambridge Label purchased a digital press, laser die cutting machine, shrink sleeve equipment, and a brand new state-of-the-art flexo press, leading the way to new business opportunities. Diane has an honors business administrative degree and a master of business degree from the Ivy Business School. Diane, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be here with you all, and also a pleasure to be a part of such a great industry. As an owner of Cambridge Label, we are a label supplier exclusively for the trade. We manufacture custom printed labels and shrink sleeves in quantities as few as 100 up to several million. As a trade printer, we print for a wide array of markets. So we serve the following industries as an example: food and beverage, health and beauty, household, industrial, nutraceutical, and medical facilities, to name a few. I always say, as long as it has an adhesive, or now in this case, if it's on supportive film, we most likely can print it. And our primary focus is on manufacturing high quality products while offering solid customer service and on-time delivery.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Dan. From our trade printer and commercial print segment, next slide, please, Doris, is Mike Mishkatti, President of Cena Light Services. Having joined Cena Light at the age of 18, Mike Mishkatti has learned how to run and grow a business from the ground up. Mike's entrepreneurial spirit helped Cena Light grow from a 3-person company in a small 2,000 square foot unit to one of the largest wholesale printing businesses within North America. Mike specializes in automation and streamlining manufacturing by developing and integrating software. As the president of Cena Light, he is a powerhouse when it comes to motivating employees and encouraging them to grow and succeed. Mike, do you mind saying a few words?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you guys for having me on this webinar. For the people that don't know us, we're Cena Light. We offer wholesale trade printing in a variety of different segments, from commercial printing to signage, labels, apparel. So we're literally printing on anything. We're servicing roughly around 10 to 12,000 resellers on our platform. Our main mission with Cena Light is to help our resellers grow. And during this COVID time, we tried to see what we could do to help our resellers grow, because commercial printing got hit hard. And luckily enough, we were able to bring a lot of COVID products online, so we could help our resellers gain some revenue while the business was down. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. Next from the book manufacturing segment is Jason Fubara. He's the general manager of Marquee Bookbinding. Already more than 40 years have passed since Mike in his first box of perfect bound books tuned by his father in his trade bindery shop. And his passion for print was contagious. Perfection at every step of production was expected, but of course not attainable. Jason left the family business and began a journey that exposed him to many areas of the printing industry, from operating all types of bindery equipment to assisting in starting up and later managing a large trade specialty bindery in Toronto, to another stop for mailing and letter shop, and later onto his own small trade bindery shop. Jason took the leap from trade bindery to commercial print about 10 years ago, which then exposed him to sheet-fed offset, sheet-fed digital, large format, digital web, and web offset. Passion is still there, along with the pursuit for perfection. Not sure if Jason was able to get online with us. I know there were some connection issues in the beginning, but if he's not, I will read his deck here. Established in Montmagny, Quebec since 1937, Marquee is leading the Canadian book manufacturing industry. Marquee operates 3 printing plants: Louisville, Montmagny, and Toronto, and 3 divisions: Interscript for graphic design and file layout, Laurentian Canadian is a leader for agenda and yearbooks, and Canada Coding, specializing in finishing services to the printing industry. They create and provide the best solutions for the publishing and communication industry in Canada, the US, and Europe. Marquee's mission is to be the preferred partner for the publishers by offering innovative and integrated print and logistics solutions. Marquee is the partner of choice for thousands of publishers and content owners around the world. Okay. And then I'd like to introduce, from the vendor and supply side, Mr. Ray Fagan. Ray is a sales specialist for sheet-fed, post-press, packaging, and digital with Heidelberg Canada. Working with Heidelberg for over 25 years, after many years in the print trade, Ray has started as the Toronto showroom manager. From there, he moved into a sales and product support role with the Canadian sales team, and is currently a sales specialist responsible for all sheet-fed and post-press packaging equipment, as well as the Versifier digital product line. Other tasks of Ray's include marketing activities in Canada, and Ray is also the direct liaison with the German factory for product support and demonstrations. Ray states that one of the highlights of the job is presenting the Heidelberg products at trade fairs such as Drupa. Ray, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and saying a few words.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for being here with us this afternoon. From the vendor supply side, quite happy to be here and supporting our customers. It's been a very challenging time dispatching our service and technical engineers on site in a variety of companies, and ensuring that everybody is safe and well. So looking forward to a discussion and continuing on supporting our customers.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ray.
Thanks, Stephen.
Oh, my pleasure. I do understand that Jason is on now. Jason, sorry for reading your deck, but if you wouldn't mind, if you can elaborate on anything that I said so glowingly of you, if you're now on with us.
That's fine. I'm showing in the box as a second Ray Fagan. No, I mean,
You're better looking.
interested in the discussion today. looking forward to what everybody talks about over the next hour.
Fantastic. So I'd like to begin with a question. And before I dive into the questions for the panelists, I'd like to remind our attendees as well that we will be accepting questions throughout the webinar today. If you would like your question directed to a specific panelist, please mention the panelist name in the question. If you'd like it posed to the panelists as a whole, or you do not indicate a specific panelist name, I will open it up to the entire panel as a whole. And we definitely appreciate and encourage your feedback. Okay, for the first discussion, I'd like to address this to the panel as a whole. What significant changes did you make to your operation to ensure minimal or no exposure to your plant after this first outbreak kind of at the end of March of this year? I'll open it up to Diane, I guess. I'll go in alphabetical.
Sure. All right. Well, a lot of changes. I'm sure there's probably a lot of similarities between what, common workplaces did. But, we eliminated, we used to have an overlap between our shifts, our day shift and our afternoon shift, eliminated that so that there's a solid half-hour break in between. So keeping them segregated, less people to people human interaction. We restricted access to certain areas of plant. So only those who worked in that very specific area or room were allowed to go in there. Of course, now we have a face mask policy in place, social distancing, sanitization prior to entry, and the COVID-19 daily screening questionnaire that everybody is submitting as well. And then, of course, people working from home, all meetings via Zoom. So a lot of different changes.
Absolutely, definitely the new normal for sure.
Yeah.
Mike, if you wouldn't mind speaking to your operation as well, and then I'll move on to Jason / Ray Fagan too.
Sure. Yeah. So initially we removed all the office staff. So office staff have been working from home since mid-March. We shut down half of the kitchen basically. So there's a limited amount of people that could go into the kitchen right now. We removed all the microwaves, all the water dispensers, so everything got removed. Right now there's a mandatory face mask, face shield that everyone has to wear while working. Also, there's social distancing. There's a 2 meter apart rule on each machinery. So if you have a cutter, the person who's packing has to be 2 meter apart, and there's lines on the floor and everything. In the mornings, morning and afternoon, at the beginning of each shift, everyone's temperature is taken. There's a form that gets filled out, and we brought in mobile check-in for the time clock. So there's not that much, touching the time clock, because it's going to get everyone sick if someone is sick. And we manipulated some of the shifts. So our day shift was always more stronger than the afternoon shift. So we've kind of split it up evenly so we don't have too many people during one specific shift.
Fantastic. Jason, if you wouldn't mind speaking to the book manufacturing.
Yeah. Very, very similar. The two main things that we did immediately was, like Mike, we moved all the office staff to work remotely. That took us about a week to put into place. The second thing that was critical for the beginning of this was we created an entrance protocol. So the staff, in fact, everybody, staff, myself included, have to enter only through one door in the facility. And we have a separate door that is the only exit for the facility during this time. It's a large building, 170,000 square feet. So the entrance protocol, the very first thing the employees do is they walk into, we call it a blue room, and it's essentially you wash up, similar to going to surgery. So you're washing up, and then they're going into a second room, which really is our cafeteria. And they are asked what we initially called the 7 questions. We have revised them to be more in line with the new questions that Ontario Health and Canada Health have put out in the last few weeks. So once those questions are answered successfully, then they're allowed to go into the facility. along with the questions, everybody is also taken, we give a temperature reading for everybody.
Fantastic. Now, Ray, you're probably in a unique situation because not only do you have your own internal facility, but you are also entering multiple other people, or your staff are mentoring other people's protective bubbles as well. So can you kind of
Yeah,
speak to some of the challenges?
absolutely. So the first thing we did was, ironically, I was actually in Germany for a demonstration with some customers when this whole thing hit. So I had to come back and self-isolate for the first 14 days. I think I was probably one of the first guys to do that. But then we closed our office, and all inter-office personnel are working from home. And we've managed to be pretty good at doing that. And we keep our warehouse open out the back, so we have a skeleton crew dispatching our consumables. And then, of course, our technical people didn't have the luxury of not being able to service our customers. So we developed a protocol where anytime we had to go on a service call or involved in an installation, we have a document that we send to our customers that the customers review and sign. And it's just to make sure that the protocols are being followed within each plant individually. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but I have to say that it's been overwhelming, the length at which the companies have gone to ensure safe facilities for both their own employees and the people that have to come in and service the equipment. It's been amazing. I'm really happy I'm on this side of the border.
Yeah, absolutely. For that and many reasons. What would some of your greatest challenges have been for implementing these changes, actually? And like, how did your team members react in some of your situations? Were there certain sticking points, or was there kind of main across the board acceptance by everyone? And I'll kind of open it up. You can weigh in at any time.
I'll jump in quickly. We had, in the beginning, there was a lot of confusion, and having the office staff immediately asked to work remotely, and a lot of them weren't set up yet. So we had that period of that first week or two where everyone was learning how to connect and work remotely. We had to change even some of our workflows so that we could still get work done. But we felt as an executive team that it was more important for everyone to be safe. And here in Toronto with this team, it was really about making the employees that were left in the facility feel safe, because at that time, we were all wondering whether we were going to even be a business that could be open, right? So I think a lot of us had that question: are we going to be allowed to continue to operate? So once that was the big question, and so I decided all that we left in the facility were the supervisors, the department managers for production floor teams, myself, and I asked the director of HR to stay in the facility as well. So what we did was that group, we walked through the plant for each of the shifts to talk to very small groups, try to keep it, 6 people at a time, I think was our limit, and discuss where we were, what was happening as far as COVID, what that meant for Marquee as a company, really print as an industry, because like I said, a lot of people didn't know that we would be deemed an essential service. That was one of the main questions, thinking back 7 months ago. Should we even be at work? Why are we working? But with us, leadership walking through the plant, addressing any questions, what we found was, for the most part, everybody was willing to ask questions. And we didn't make anybody feel like they had to be here. That was the other thing. So we wanted them to buy in. So if they were going to work with us, we got them to buy in. If they didn't feel comfortable, they were told that they could opt out. They're still part of the Marquee team. When you feel comfortable, you'll be coming back on your own terms. And What we found was, I think the longest opt-out was almost 4 months, but everybody came back and was very comfortable with the way we were operating and making them feel like they're in a safe environment, which was very, very important to, like I said, the executive team of Marquis and myself.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
I guess one of the challenges we had was getting everyone to wear their PPE, because working for 8 hours and wearing a mask and wearing a shield, it gets really, really uncomfortable. And at the beginning of COVID, I don't know if you guys had the same trouble, but finding masks or buying masks was a challenge because there wasn't any mask kicking around because all the hospitals got most of them. So trying to source masks was a big trouble for us, but luckily we were able to find it. The other challenge that we had was the shift changes. So it was hard for some of the people because we needed to change their shift because they were, for example, during the day, now they had to go in the afternoon to do those kinds of shift changes. But again, one of the biggest things that we had was to just make sure that the safety protocols are in place and everyone feels safe, because March, April, May, with the media going crazy on this and everyone shutting down, people didn't feel safe working. So, and as soon as they announced that we're essential, some people still didn't feel safe working. So that was one of the biggest challenges that we faced. But since the past, like the 7 months has passed, I guess everyone's more used to it now and everyone's got into the habit.
Yeah, I found the same, getting people to wear PPE. I had to stand out back and be the mask police because you had some people who were totally on board. And I think for us, we're a family owned and operated company. We've grown a lot over the years, but a lot of people look at it as like working with an extension of their family. So they're kind of like, we're not massive. Why do we need to do this? So, and I think also being an early adopter of some of these policies, when the government mandates something or your region mandates something, it's a lot easier to get people to come on board with that. But if you make those steps before that happens, there's a lot of people that probably go, well, you guys are just being like too crazily cautious. But yeah, so definitely getting people on board was my greatest challenge.
Excellent. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and for Heidelberg, I mean, we were so dependent on our customers and their safety protocols when our guys went on site that I can't recall having a situation where one of our people felt uncomfortable entering a company, and that is a it's a credit to the industry of the steps that they've taken. We had a lot of installations in the last 6 months. Our biggest challenge was bringing support people in from the United States when we needed a specialist, trying to get guys from Germany when we needed specialists. That has been our biggest challenge in the last 6 months for sure. And it remains so with the border closings and things like that. But from entering buildings and the protocols that the companies have put in place, it's been exceptional.
I have a question that's just been submitted by one of our attendees as well. Did any of you implement a pay premium, such as a $2 per hour add-on? And if so, is this still in place? And was it for all employees or just select roles, possibly with high physical distance concentrations? Or higher, sorry.
I can take that one. I did take the wage subsidy that was provided by the government and did pass that along in terms of a wage premium to all of our staff, regardless of whether they were production or office. With CERB coming into play, I thought that anybody that was willing to stick on and help us out was deserving of the wage premium. I did discontinue it in the summer months. I would love to keep it going on forever, but I had used up all of the government subsidy, and then it was coming out of my pocket for a long duration thereafter. And, you know, of course, that's an expense. And we did see a decline in our sales with this virus as well, which is also a consideration. But we did keep it in place for quite some time. And when it was removed, I actually didn't get any flack about it. People were understanding and appreciative that they got it in the first place, which was good.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great. Mike or Jason, do any of this apply to your
Yeah,
situation?
we had something similar. We had it in a way that because we had to cut some hours because the business just shrank in March and April, what we did was we did a bounce up. So whatever your wage was before, we basically filled it out. So we kind of gave a bump up to people that weren't making because of the cut hours. So the hours were reduced, but they still got paid for their full amount of working hours.
Oh, that's very fair. Awesome.
Here in Marquee, we didn't make any changes to the wages, but that was one of the big questions as I took my tours through the plant. You know, will we be getting a danger pay increase? And we decided not to do that, and concentrated again on making everybody feel safe rather than getting the danger pay for working in a dangerous environment. So that was the way we looked at it.
No, completely fair. No, that's great. Now, this is kind of obviously hard to do because it's sort of expansionary, but like with the number of cases on the rise, are you kind of modeling for additional, perhaps, not restrictions perhaps, but kind of additional legislation coming through for limitation of hours or duration of between shifts? Or also kind of, are you modeling for preparations of what would happen the first positive test within your facility and kind of how you would work that out?
So in regards of the extra steps that we're taking, we're actually doing weekly sanitization for the whole plant. So we've got a third-party company that comes in and uses a fogger and they sanitize the whole facility. So and this typically happens Sunday night. So Monday morning when the shifts start again, the place is sanitized. And in regards of first COVID case, I guess for the past 7 months, we're all preparing ourselves for it. We're trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do. Obviously, we have some policies in place. We've contacted public health. We've contacted Ministry of Labor to get us all prepped up for that. But knock on wood, luckily, nothing yet. So we got our fingers crossed, but it's something that will probably happen because with the cases rising right now.
For us, as far as making changes, I've taken the stance that we don't have all the answers right now. I think this is new for everybody. And the more open we are to new ideas, better ways to protect employees, create the bubble in the plant, you know, as the title of the webinar is, to the best of our ability, that changes almost weekly. So we have a committee, and it's an executive committee with the group in Quebec, and we review what we're doing, how we're doing it, anything new, any ideas coming from the plant floors, and then implement changes, you know, every 2 weeks that we see are going to help us protect our business. That's really what we're doing, along with all the employees. As far as new cases I had, depending on how you look at it, fortunate or unfortunate event at the very beginning in March, we had one employee who was tested positive through, they did contact tracing, and he was shopping at a clothing store, and there were 12 cases out of that store. So he was hospitalized, actually. It was pretty serious for quite a while, and he pulled out and he's back to work, which is fantastic. But that really threw us into the fire. How are we going to manage this? And again, it was really about making our teams feel safe. And we did similar to what Mike says. We decided rather than sanitize it with our own crews and our own materials, We hired a professional team to come in. We actually took videotape through our surveillance and posted the video for our employees to see afterwards. You know, the group going through the plant and sanitizing the area where that employee worked, and then all the common areas throughout the facility to ensure that there would be no traces of the virus afterwards. What was interesting was the very first thing that we did was we called Toronto Health looking for guidance. They walked us through it and made us feel actually much more comfortable than you may have, especially in March when this was all very new for all of us. We knew what to do right away through Toronto Health as far as our employees' safety. We decided to shut the facility down rather than just one of the production lines because it's a large building. And then we brought the teams back in stages again to make them feel safe. So, you know, for example, we didn't bring all of the employees and all of the shifts back 24 hours later. We brought back a team that was in really another building that's attached to this one back 24 hours later, and then stepped throughout a 4-day period, bringing back the entire teams. And at that time, everybody was comfortable enough to come back and work. We had, like I said, at the very beginning, less than 6% of our staff decided to opt out due to their fears of working in under COVID, the new COVID condition.
Okay. I had another question that was actually submitted from one of our attendees was, which company did you hire to sanitize and defog? I guess I would go to Jason and Mike, who specifically utilized them. So.
It's been 6 months. I would have to, it's still posted. I would have to go and read the note, but I can't remember which company we hired. But they were very, like I said, they were very good, and they, more importantly than anything, they made the team on the floor feel like they did a very thorough job. And I think videotaping it and having photos was really a nice touch. That was one of our managers decided to do that, and I thought it was great for everyone to walk in the next morning or when they came back to see that this is what we did to ensure that that you guys are safe. So, but if you want, you can drop me an email, and I'll definitely send you contact information.
I'll do the same thing, Stephen. I'll forward you an email. I gotta ask the person who does the billing and everything for that.
That's fantastic. Some free advertising for whichever companies those are.
Yeah,
sure.
totally.
Have you implemented or adjusted the use of any digital technology to allow for non-contact communication with clients and reduce physical contact? I'm sure all of you have like Zoom, team meetings, web portals, but have you utilized that with customers as well as staff?
Yeah.
Certainly we, sorry, Mike, certainly we have. It's for the longest time, we, you know, unless you were an essential service to the companies, i.e. your press is broken and you need us to come and fix it. We weren't just making random sales calls for the first 3 or 4 months. We're not really, you know, for all intent and purposes, it was better just to stay away and we utilized the various streaming methods to discuss with our customers and talk to them and help them through challenging times. And at the same time, as you all know, there was supposed to be a big Drupa, which got canceled. And that's a big part of our marketing campaign. And but at the same time, we still wanted to get our products out into the market. So the best way to do that was through these kind of forums here that we're on today, and introduce our customers to the technology that was supposed to be up live and personal. But hopefully someday soon we'll return to normal and we'll be able to get in front of the equipment again. But yeah, so that's the way we've been dealing with the sales end of things.
Yeah, just continuing what Ray said, we've done 3 equipment demos. So vendors trying to sell us equipment online. And although we really like to touch and feel a machine when we're buying it and hear the noise while the gears are turning, it's been interesting. It doesn't feel the same at all, but I guess with COVID and everything, there is nothing else we could do. With our customers, everyone being, us being e-commerce, I guess a lot of our customers, almost all of our customers are online. So we're just creating webinars and everything, educating them about new services, new products that we're launching. But in regards to Google Hangout and Google Chat, I could say that it's spiked up. I was talking to our IT person and saying, why do we need office phones anymore? Because my office phone doesn't ring that much anymore. So everyone's either sending me a message through Google Hangout or they're sending me an email. So there's a big shift in technology, which is good at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up office phones, Mike. I haven't actually been at my desk since mid-March, but my,
Yeah.
my voicemail, my office emails me an AVI file. So that's how I pick up my office voicemail.
Yeah, same thing. You know what? Funny enough, my office phone is going to ring right now to just prove me wrong. You know what I mean? So,
I'm calling you right now.
there you go.
Perfect. Are any of you utilizing contact tracing for those customers or service providers that do actually have to make their way into your facilities?
I'll go on this one. Actually, currently, no, because we have the doors pretty well closed off. Everything that, to your earlier question, everything that we can do through Zoom or remotely, we do. When we have somebody in to fix something, those are, I can count on one hand how many, times that has happened, or it's always kind of the same people, which I could easily, reach out to. So because of our limited visitors, similar to Mike, a lot of our support is all just done remotely. So we're good in that respect.
Anyone else? Mike, Jason, in terms of any
It's an interesting concept. It's something we haven't discussed here either. Similar to Diane, we have a very, very low volume of traffic coming into the plant. It's just text when we're down, and we can't, to Ray's point, we can't get it corrected via mobile support or web support, which is what a lot of the vendors are doing, as everybody knows, for all of us now. But contact tracing, we feel that, and we're always open to making it better, but we feel that the entry protocol allows us to at least screen the people that are coming into the facility. They go through the same thing that our employees do. And then, of course, much like Mike and Diane have mentioned, and Ray, it's everybody's wearing a mask. So there is, there's a level of comfort, even if somebody was carrying the virus, that, it's not going to be transmitted as long as they're following our product protocols and wearing their masks. While we have people on the floor from a vendor or repair company, we also keep our staff away. So we've recently installed a press, and we had that area was cordoned off for our staff because people are curious, they want to go see what's happening. And we decided to make sure that was a safe zone and mark it off so there was no access between the folks in town to do the install and our team. No interaction, separate washroom, things like that.
Oh, fantastic. Ray, have you noticed that any of your technicians have had to have contact tracing in any of the facilities they've had to be into?
Yeah, I mean, we prefer to be able to sign in and sign out if there's such a protocol exists. At least then we know who was in and out of the facility, what time they arrived at and what time they left at. A lot of places we've experienced have that sign in protocol at the front entrance. Some companies send you a document by email that you have to forward to them before you come. Especially is the case if we're bringing staff from the US or from Germany. There's a lot of paperwork involved now that wasn't involved before, both to the government, to the a letter of intent from the customer deeming it as an essential service, and also a letter from Heidelberg deeming it an essential service. So that that's the only way we can really get people from outside the country on site. And it's hit and miss. What we've learned is that you know, you're at the mercy of a border control guy and how he interprets the rules. We've had people with the exact same documentation get into the country, and people with the exact same documentation not be allowed in the country. Unless, of course, they're going to do a 14-day quarantine, which we've never asked any of our employees or service third-party technicians to do. We wouldn't do that to anybody. And so far, you know, we've missed a few opportunities and delayed a few installations as a result of that. But those are the ground rules we live in. I don't think there's any cut and dry, black and white rules. It depends on what website you look at and who you're talking to, what the exact rules really are.
That's actually a great point, Ray. That kind of segues nicely into this other question that I had, but I was going to ask later, but I'll bring it up now based on your response. Is how have you found dealing with the various levels of government, like municipal, regional, provincial, and federal? And have they been providing clear direction to the steps that your company can take either to protect your employees or, in Ray's case, facilitate the movement of employees? And are there any challenges, or were there, with conflicting messaging or timelines and communication? I know it's been an evolving process, as they've almost had to be formed from the ground up, but how do you find it in the beginning versus how do you find it now?
In fairness, I'll say there's no rule book for this. Okay, like we didn't ever understand what was going to happen. I think back in March, when things started shutting down, I can't imagine that we'd all be still sitting here today having this discussion. I think we thought it would be 3 or 4 weeks and we'd all be back about our business. So I'm not trying to point the finger and blame anyone individually, but there is a lot of uncertainty as to what the rules really are. For example, we were trying to bring a couple of guys in from Germany, and they weren't allowed board the plane in Frankfurt, even though they'd been given a COVID test and they all had negative results before they boarded the plane. But because they didn't have a document that they were supposed to go and get from the embassy, which was new to us, they weren't allowed board the plane. So we learned, okay, now we have to go get a document from the embassy to allow people to come into the country. So, you know, the rules did change. It is a moving target. And I understand all the reasons for it. But at the same time, being a moving target, it makes it very difficult to understand the rules and what you can and can't do.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think from my perspective, the one thing that, I mean, this is early days back in March, but when the announcement of businesses closing was made, but they didn't have what that entailed specifically yet until, I forget however many hours that was, 36 hours or whatever it may be. That was interesting for me because I didn't know where we fell on that spectrum at that point in time, and none of us did. And my phone was like ringing off the hook from 6:30 a.m. to like 11 p.m. of people like saying like, please rush our jobs through in case you guys close, and dealing with that. So, you know, I don't know, but again, you know, as Ray said, there's no rule book for this. How do you, you know, so you can reflect back and say, I wish they had done it such and such way, but you know, obviously hindsight's 2020. So that was interesting. The other thing for me was I did come back from a vacation on March 8th. That was when the 2-week quarantine wasn't mandated, but was recommended. So even when I went through the customs process on the touch screen there, it didn't say anything about quarantining for 2 weeks. So that was hard for me because as a business owner, it's kind of like, okay, this isn't mandated. It's maybe loosely recommended at this point in time. So, what should I be doing? Right. So I did decide to do the 2 weeks, but it was really hard for me to not be present in the workplace while kind of the world was imploding. So, so those are my two challenges. But lately, I've found the communication to be fine, a lot better, and better organized.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we similar to Diane, we had a similar experience at the beginning. We didn't know if we need to stay open, close down, and getting the proper policies in place. I'm talking about March, April, May. It was really hard because we would contact different departments in the government, but no one had a clear answer for us. So we decided to go on many of the sites like World Health Organization sites, go on Public Health's website, go on a variety of governments' website, skim through all of them, take whatever we felt it's important, and prepare our policies. As soon as we created that policy, what we did is we invited Ministry of Labor over to our facility. So we called them in, we said, hey, these are our policies, come in, check us out, make sure we're all good, everything is proper. And they did come. They actually, they did a walkthrough. They went through all of our policies. We emailed them to several different people in MLL, and they kind of said, okay. And no one really from Ministry of Labor approves anything. They just basically say okay or not okay. We didn't get any warnings, so we presented it to all the staff member and we went from there.
Jason, this must be kind of unique for you because you have actually multiple plants in different provinces too. So did you find any difference in messaging between provinces?
Oh, absolutely. Even more so when things started opening up again, if everyone remembers, Quebec opened much quicker than Ontario, Toronto specifically. So the thought in Quebec was, this is great. Things are going to become normal again sooner. There was a little bit of the concern. It was smaller at the time. There may be a second wave. They were talking about that in Quebec at the time. Toronto, we were still in stage 2, which we're the true stage 2, where we are now again. But the communication was very different between two provinces. So you had the federal communication, what they were planning in Quebec based on direction from their premier was very different than what we were hearing from from Ford. And then obviously in Toronto, we had our own bylaws and policies as well. But it was a lot of mixed communication. We decided, I took a stand here, much like I'm hearing from Dan and Mike. So I think I think that was a great way to look at it is you're better to be too safe than look at the rules and regulations and say, oh, I don't think that this is a policy yet. It's not a bylaw, but I hear the recommendations, so we're not going to implement that. We took the other direction and decided to implement a lot of the recommendations very early, much like we talked about earlier. We're clearing out the office staff. I wanted to keep that probability of the virus hitting the plant as low as possible. And with so many people in the facility every day, we want to reduce that number without affecting production on the floor. So it was very mixed.
Okay. Yeah, actually, in addition to print action is owned by Annex Business Media, we have our own printing facility as well. So yeah, we kind of fell into what you're speaking to as well. We had that kind of gray area. We weren't sure if our printing plant was going to be deemed essential services or not. So we had like 66 magazines that were being printed, all in different stages of completion or binding or whatnot. So yeah, there was a lot of some 36 to 48 hours of some very, very hectic phone conversations for sure. Perfect. Another question here. So have you been utilizing within any of your print facilities sort of cross training during these times in terms of kind of trying to build in for if some person was sick in some key area? Have you been trying to either train people in multitasks or kind of add some automation so that you can cover off if certain people are sick, or even if it's for seasonal flu, but over an abundance of caution, having them not come in.
Yeah, cross-train as much as possible on, having multiple people on each shift in each critical area of the business from a production standpoint is something that we've really stressed over, the last number of months, just to ensure, of course, that we can continue operations if anything, if we ever have a positive case, touch wood on that one.
Jason?
Yeah, we've been trying to cross-train, but it's, I guess, for a manufacturing facility, I think this is one of the toughest times, because if someone gets a cold or if they have a symptom that is similar to COVID, they got to quarantine themselves or go get tested till all the symptoms are relieved. And we're in the flu season right now, and I guess the next few months it's going to be extremely challenging for a majority of the manufacturing facilities, because it's really tough to run a proper manufacturing facility when you have to quarantine an individual and then the next day you have to quarantine another individual. That's all the emails that we're getting. So and so had a symptom. We're very strict. So as soon as they show a symptom, they got to stay home. They got to go get tested, wait for the result, and wait till all their symptoms are resolved before they come in. So I must admit, this is within the past, since 20 years, I've never experienced such a challenging time running a manufacturing facility.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
For me, I love that question, because I think that regardless of the environment, that should be a priority for a manufacturing facility. Cross-training. I was pushing that the moment I walked into the doors here at Marquee, and it allowed everybody to understand the expectations if somebody was off. So, to expand on Mike, I needed to have an understanding of how many people a day we were missing, and follow that and look for trends and see which crews were missing people due to, possible symptoms, or somebody in the family traveling, or there's a number of reasons that people have to self-isolate due to our current rules and policies. But the cross-training, I think, my personal feeling is the days of having a crew that runs one device and they do that on a specific shift day in and day out it's gone. I've got a large facility, and I like the team to look at it as a large toolbox, and they're more valuable. They have better opportunities to move on in the trade or do whatever they want to do if they've learned more aspects of it. And I'm a great example. You learn the bindery, you're pigeonholed. That's what you know. And I want our bindery team to understand what the presses do. And I want the pressmen to understand what the bindery does, so that everybody does a better job at their work because of that. I mean, we've all been there. You got employees complaining about, oh, they didn't print it this way, or they didn't lay it out this way, or how come the bindery made this mistake? And you have all the finger pointing. Well, a lot of that goes away when you stand in each other's shoes. So I think that it's a great time if people feel the push to cross-train. It's a great initiative to continue if things ever do get back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. Having people learn upstream and downstream of their particular process to find out every detail involved with the finished product.
Especially in, what we see is a diminishing workforce of skilled people, in the various expertises, whether it's a folder gluer or a die cutter or a folder or a printing machine. Technology can take you certain places and certainly help you with certain processes, but some processes in our industry remain hands-on. And if you're not teaching people how to utilize the equipment, and cross-training is huge, then slowly but surely you run out of people. And that's what we see as one of the major challenges in our industry is the talent pool from which to draw on.
Now, this might be an interesting question too, because of this time, this kind of COVID time, so to speak, every process being analyzed within your company in such detail. Are you kind of utilizing it now for extrapolation, future automating of certain processes, kind of so you can remove certain touch points and or bottlenecks either for efficiency or to decrease staff needed in certain departments as well through automation?
Absolutely. I'll jump in. I think a number of us have talked, although we are in the print industry, about being paperless. I mean, we've all heard that, being paperless in the office. And this was one of the ongoing conversations is the dockets or the job bags that go through the facility. If you think about, count the number of touches a single docket has as it goes through the facility. So we looked at changing our workflow, understanding what all those touches are and how can we eliminate it? What do we really need to do to finally eliminate that paper that travels through the plant? And we're finally in a position to be able to do that. And I think that it wouldn't have been an accelerated conversation unless we were in the current COVID environment. So it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree. I've been trying to get everybody to go paperless for a long time now, met with a lot of resistance. So I guess the only good thing that's come of COVID is, I guess this is my excuse now, or my push with everyone, getting everybody on board with that. So we've started the process and are making strides, not fully paperless, of course. That's a big undertaking, but getting there.
Mike?
Well, we've tried to see what we could do in our shipping department. So with COVID hitting, we had a lot of walk-ins, and we had about 200-300 people walking into our facility. So as soon as COVID hit, we shut all the doors. So our shipping department's trying to figure out a better way of handling people walking in, because we realized that it puts such a big pressure on shipping. And when we took away the pickups, they realized, wow, life is great. You know what I mean? And they don't have to run around, chase themselves, find boxes, etc. So we're analyzing our logistical department to see how we could streamline shipping, because we, as printers, we never look at anything else rather than printing and finishing. That's all we look at. We don't look at anything else. And with COVID, we realized that our shipping and logistical department have issues. So it's a great thing, and it's one of our objectives to figure that out right now.
Ray, did you have anything to add from internal?
Well, I mean, at Heidelberg, our whole philosophy is a reducing touch points in the print manufacturing, and try to make it more of a manufacturing environment rather than a hands-on artist type craft, which traditionally printing has been known to be. So if you look at all the advancements that we did bring through for Drupa, it's all about reducing touch points and becoming more digital and becoming more automated, especially in the press arena, but also in the finishing arena too, to bring both pre-press and press together. The printing machine is no longer the bottleneck. It's elsewhere within the manufacturing environment. So I think that has been somewhat accelerated due to the COVID thing, where customers have reduced staff and who knows if they'll ever get back to the numbers that they had before March, and just try to operate a more lean and efficient manufacturing organization. I think that's what especially commercial printers have to do going forward. The packaging printers have by and large been somewhat immune to the whole COVID COVID situation because of the need for the products and services that they manufacture. So it's been a much more challenging situation for the commercial printers. And one thing I'd be interested to know from the panelists is how you guys got around the essential services criteria that didn't allow you to have to shut down your facility. From the packaging side, it's more than understandable, but on the commercial side, I'd be just a little bit interested to hear how you managed your way through that.
I could take that. So when COVID hit, around 30 to 40% of our business was COVID related products.
Okay.
So a lot of floor graphics, signs that went into the hospitals, a lot of the signs to go around the construction sites and everything. For our label department, it was food mainly, so that covered us there. On our sheet fed presses and our digital presses, it was a lot of COVID related collateral in a sense of what to do if XYZ happens for hospitals and for pharmaceuticals and everything. So we
Very
were
good.
considered essential.
Good job, Mike.
For us, Marquis, it was a little unique because of the additional plants in Quebec. Initially, they were just deemed non-essential, and so we shut down the plants in Quebec. The Toronto plant, we didn't know what to do at first. We reached out, similar to Mike, to all the, and I'm sure Dan, to all the agencies to find out where we fit in because it was a very gray area. We continued to operate once it was confirmed that we do a lot of, although it's really been reduced, a lot of work for educational and the financial industry. And those two industries were what allowed the Toronto plant to continue operating right through, right from the beginning. The Quebec plants opened up, I can't remember if it was, they opened up at different times, 1 month and 2 months after the initial shutdown. So that's, yeah, it's not a great situation.
No.
Diane, do you have anything to add at all? Or?
You know, for me, I guess it was relatively cut and dry. I think one of the first statements, I don't know if Premier Ford worded it this way since he also owns a label company, but I think one of the opening statements, it was just very clear there for me. So, you know, it said, I think it actually said printers of labels and packaging supplying any of these following industries. So, so for me, it was more of a straightforward path.
Ray, for us personally, we were deemed essential based on the fact of being a media provider for business-to-business titles with 66. So we achieved our essential service status through that, getting the news out and helping different markets cope with this by getting the information that they needed. So fantastic. Perfect. Well, with that, actually, we've gone a little over time, which is fantastic because the dialogue's been tremendous and the response from the attendees has been great. I'd like to take this time to thank our panelists, Deanne, Mike, Jason, and Ray, for their open questions and providing our attendees with some insight into how different market segments are handling these challenging times and with their managing their staff as well as other aspects of their business. I would like to acknowledge our sponsors once again, Canon, EFI, HP, Konica Minolta, and Print Action, who are our platinum sponsors. And our gold sponsors are Adobe, Fujifilm, Graphics Canada, and Heidelberg. I would like to everyone to know that our next webinar will be Wednesday, November the 18th. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and we hope you found it educational and fun. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye.
Thank you.